the 2010-11 school year athletic informational meeting. My name is Bill Miller, athletic director here at the high school and the middle school. The purpose for this meeting is to relay information to the parents and athletes alike so that everyone is aware of the paperwork that needs to be turned in before you can practice or participate in a game. As well as a few other important items that we'll discuss in a few minutes. First of all, I'd like to introduce our new high school principal, Mr. Oren Nails. He's taking over for Mr. Kevin Kilstoff. And our new associate principal, Mr. Joel Cook. Our first speaker will be Rebecca DeShane. She is from the Partners in Education.
Thanks for having me. I'm Rebecca DeShane, Partners in Education at the Green Bay Chamber of Commerce, and Oren asked me to come tonight just to give a little bit of an informational talk for you. I have a lot of slides, and Oren didn't give me a lot of time, so I will probably skip through a few of them, but I'm going to send it to him. He's going to put it up on the website so you can go back and check them out if I go through them too fast or whatnot. And I'm going to stick around for the whole evening, so if someone has questions afterwards, feel free to come and talk with me. I'd be happy to talk with you. What I'm going to talk about tonight is called Life of an Athlete. This is a program that we've learned about. It was developed by John Underwood, who is a 3-time NCAA All-American. He lives out in New York. He trains the Olympic athletes in Lake Placid. Billy DeMung, who won the Nordic Combined this year, this past Olympics, was one of his skiers that he taught to ski before he went on to pursue his Olympic dreams. So he's also a physiologist. He's conducted over 14,000 tests over the past 20 years. And has done a lot with drugs in sports and how they have a negative impact on athletes. He works with elite athletes and has also worked with high school athletes. His program is mandated in the state of New York for all high school athletics. Every athlete has to go through a programming with it. So that information will be up on the website. His most recent people that he's been working with are Navy SEALs. So if he can help them with their performance, I'm sure that he can do a lot for us as well in our athletics. We'll be working with this program in our high schools. I'll be working with Mr. Nails to give him some more information so that you guys have all the information you can have so you have optimal performance in your athletics and academics and as you go on through life. So this program is really designed for athletes because they are one of our largest targeted populations in our schools, and they're also at a high risk of alcohol or social drug use. So part of that is going to be the understanding of why, and part of that comes from knowing that social drug use, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, prescription drug abuse, heroin, meth, any of those things are really going to have a negative impact. There has not been one scientific study done that shows that there's any positive performance enhancement that comes out of that. And mostly it's the impact that it has on your brain. I don't know if you guys can see that slide. On the left, this is where folks who have not been under any influence, you can see the red areas. That's their brain performance, their ability for their brain to tap into it. And on the right, you can see the bottom one, I don't even think came up yet there. Top one is alcohol. You've lost tons of brain, thank you. Opportunities to have use there, and the bottom one is marijuana, where you have almost no brain activity whatsoever. So what can you guys do, students especially, to be at your best and to be at your performance both mental and physically? First, it takes time to remember all things of value. What are you going to give? What are you going to give up in order to reach your best? How many of you are seniors in the room here tonight? I see a few hands. How many of you are going to go on to college sports? I got one hand, 2 hands going up here. How many of you think you're going to go on to professional sports? No hands here. Okay, one, yes, see, no, that's good. You have a dream and you can work towards it, which is awesome. But for the vast majority of you, your time as an athlete is right now. You have 4 years in high school, you have 7th and 8th grade for that. And how long is your season? 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks? You don't have a lot of time. So making sure that you do what you need to do in order to be at your best and to not get to my age and go, oh, if I only had, You can do that now. There's enough information out there to help you guys with that now. And part of it is, how are you going to train? What are you going to do not only to adapt, but train and then recover afterwards? So it's not going to be all doom and gloom. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of helpful information that I've learned regarding training effect. Number one, alcohol is going to reduce your training effect. Between 12 and 96 hours worth of impact that it's going to have on your body. And there are things that you can do besides putting alcohol in your system after the game Friday night to make sure that you're at your optimal performance for your next game, for your next meeting. Train, refuel, rehydrate, and rest. How many of you drink chocolate milk? Every single hand should be going up, and every single person should be drinking chocolate milk immediately after your training. Coaches, if I were you, get a cooler, stock it with some chocolate milk, and let that be the after-workout drink of choice. Chocolate milk has the proteins that your body needs to replenish immediately. And you want to do it immediately, you don't want to wait, because you lose muscle size. Even if you wait up to 2 hours, you can lose muscle matter from your training effect. So the timing's immediate, and again, it's drinking the chocolate milk and eating a handful of raisins. There's a few other things. I'll send some information to you. Big Newtons work really well for that as well. And then eating a good meal within an hour of your workout will help you retain the most of your muscle out of your workout. And we all know that it's not just about training your body, it's about training your brain. And with an athlete, that's where it starts. The top slide shows when you're first learning how to do a skill. So if you're a setter, when you're first learning how to set, the two top areas of your body or your brain are working on that. You're figuring out the skill, how far you need to throw it for a back set, for a shoot set, whatever it is that you need. If you're a pitcher, the different kind of pitches that you need to learn. Once you learn it, you have it forever. It goes on the side of your brain and is cataloged there forever. When you impact your brain with alcohol, you go from the left side, which shows where your skill is and your ability to access it, to your right side, where there's a lot more of the red area. That's all the different areas that that skill needs to go through before it gets to your arm to throw that pitch. So you've lost all that time, all that reflex. It takes that much longer for you to be able to perform the skill that you want to. And part of that comes from your brain development. Most of it comes birth to 3 when you're learning to walk, talk, and all those other fun things. But then we also know that there's an onset when your hormones kick in. So 12, 13, that age range. And what you're doing is you're developing your moral reasoning, your judgment, and your decision-making skills. So what do you need in order to access your brain while it's still growing here? And how do you make it at its best? To make sure your body can go through about 14 hours worth of mental stimulation. So maybe you should expand the school hours a little bit for them. No? Okay. 2 to 3 hours worth of physical activity. And what you need in order for your brain to be at its best is sleep. The average teenager gets about 6.5 hours of sleep. And you spend at least, is that about right, parents? 8 hours on a computer or an iPod or the cell phone, maybe a little bit higher. So what you need to do is turn some of those things off and get your sleep so that your brain can be at its optimal performance. Your body, the central nervous system, is what needs that REM sleep. That's what's going to get you your sleep in order to let your central nervous system decompose. How many of you have cell phones in the room? What happens when you get to 1 bar? Does your cell phone work as well? No, it's kind of like your brain. When your brain's on 1 bar, it means it hasn't been getting enough sleep and you need to recharge it. So just like you plug your cell phone into the wall in order, or your iPod or your DS, in order to recharge it, your body needs the same thing. Your brain needs the same thing. And we know that REM sleep is the best. That's what's going to get you your optimal performance and allow your central nervous system to reset. And we know that alcohol disturbs that and prevents you from getting the sleep that you need. And then you end up with a brain like this. The left side shows one that has had enough sleep and is rested. The other side is one that hasn't had enough sleep. And you're not going to be at your best performance. You're not going to be able to make the stops that you're going to need to make, whether in your hockey or football or whatever sport that you're in. So make sure that you get your sleep. This one is a good one too. Energy drinks do not replenish your sleep, and they do not give you, other than that short burst of energy, what you need in order for your brain to be at optimal performance. If you want to be at your best, cut out your energy drinks, period. They really are very detrimental. So you want to think about what you're doing off the field that's going to impact what you're doing on the field. And one of the things that we've known and learned is that the 10 most dangerous times or years for a young adult is 14 to 24. And that's when the most deaths occur in any teenager's life. And this is the #1 cause, alcohol and alcohol-related accidents. So what we want to talk about today is how the alcohol impacts your brain. This is called a SPECT scan. This is a brain. And you can see that it's rounded and there's lots of smooth surfaces on it. We all know that heroin and meth are pretty dangerous illicit drugs. This is your brain if you've been using heroin. It went backwards. And these are healthy brains versus brains with alcohol on them. I lost my slides, so I apologize. So when you have a brain that hasn't been using drugs, this is what your brain will look like. When you've been using alcohol, this is what your brain looks like. You've lost all that surface area, which allows you to think clearly, think quickly, and have the reflexes that you need for those. So brain, this is from a study. This is the normal brain. This was the brain of a 17-year-old who had been drinking heavily, binge drinking on the weekends for at least 2 years. After he stopped drinking for 1 year, this is what happened. What do you guys think? Is that improvement? But is that at its best? No. So what he did for it, your brain only has a certain period of elasticity where it's going to generate regrowth, and when it reaches a certain phase, then it's not going to. So you want the center one, you don't want to mess with it, so you end up with the other ones. So again, it's just a view of the alcohol use. This was a marijuana brain, so you can see there's even more deterioration of the brain if you're smoking marijuana. And we know that it's not just athletics that affects, but it's your academics and all of your life skills that you have. Brain scans. Part of it's white matter. We'll go through there. It doesn't take much when you're drinking. 4 to 5 drinks, 2 times a month. So if you go out every other weekend and have 4 to 5 beers, your brain can look like the ones that I just showed you. Not a very exciting picture, is it? And we also know that as you drink, you can see on the left side a non-alcoholic user, the darker blue spots you can see is the brain, and on the right side you can see that they've kind of shrunk up and shriveled. Your brain will go through atrophy as you continue drinking. We also know that it has a huge impact. John did a number of studies on elite athletes, and what they found is that athletes who are using alcohol lost speed, they lost strength, their skills were greatly reduced. They weren't as accurate as they needed to be. If you're at second base and you need to make a throw to first base, do you think you want to have your brain at its peak performance in order to turn that play or not? Those are the things you need to think about. Your reflexes are slower. Are you going to be able to make that catch? Your endurance is reduced. It's the fourth quarter, you're down by 3 points. You got to go 98 yards. Do you have the endurance in order to reach it down the field and score? We also know that your injuries go up. Athletes that drink are twice as likely to be injured than those athletes that don't. And you're also more likely to get sick. It doesn't put you at peak performance. We know it has an impact on your heart and your ability for your heart to function at peak performance. Your lungs decrease. You're not able to be able to catch your breath. It's the end of the game and you're hyperventilating because you can't breathe. It means your muscles aren't getting the oxygen that they need and they're suffocating as well. And we know you lose performance potential.